Hey, how you all doing? I am Dr. Canute White, and you're listening, you're watching Canute's Exploration, your topic in a podcast. We have a lot to discuss today, right? And it's interesting because my guest will be talking about brain fitness. What is brain fitness? You go into this gym and you would, pump some iron, as we would say. But no, we are talking about not physical fitness. Well, brain is physical, but the concept of brain fitness is sort of a challenge to some of us. But my guest will be explaining this concept of brain fitness. And not only that, we'll be talking about a number of things as well. As it relates to white mental illness exploding in perhaps this country. We talk about the scam likely calls that we have been getting. But why change is so hard? What is really neuroplasticity? And again, can you slow your age? Yes, we are aging, but can you slow your age? My guest will be talking to us. Welcome to Canute's Exploration, your topic in a podcast. Again, I am Dr. Canute White, and my guest will be introducing himself, Arnold. I like that name, Arnold. But let's find out who is Arnold, right? Arnold, it's important for us to get with that first. Arnold, explain who you are and what you do really.
Well, I currently use as a label the brain fitness trainer, which is a combination of basically my life's experience. Now you would say that's true for everyone, but it's like when in hindsight I grew up in a family where most of the members would now be called that they have some mental illness. But which was then not diagnosed, not even discussed. Then I worked in the corporate world. I was very successful, but what I noticed is that not only myself, but all of the people who worked with me, is that I would say everybody has unlimited potential. You can do and be much more than you think you can. And then, well, we're all put into a box, made very small, always telling us that we're not good enough. And I was like, that's just not true. That's not true. Yeah?
Right.
And that is why I did many different responsibilities. I always made promotion kind of thing. And I always, at the end, I managed very, very large organizations. Mm-hmm. And people were all like, why did it work? And they didn't understand, because I worked in a technology environment, but I totally no technology background. So, that was my corporate world. Then I was kicked out basically, and then I started for myself, and I started like, well, be an entrepreneur, be successful, earn a lot of money, do this, do that, and it didn't work. It didn't work at all, and I was learning a lot about myself, which was extremely interesting, because I thought I knew myself, and I thought I was very, well, kind of a polymath, but in essence I was not, because I knew nothing about my emotional, spiritual, all of these things. It appears I was mentally, well, what you're supposed to be in the business world, but all of other aspects of myself, I had no clue. I had no clue it existed. I had no clue what it was and how it worked. So I learned a lot about myself, and while doing that, so that was successful. I tried to set various businesses, but that just didn't work out. And I thought again, it's like, whoa, as you've been taught from a young age, it's like, oh, you're not good enough. You cannot do that. Well, Arnold, maybe you should find a job again, or Arnold, you're a failure.
You know something, Arnold? We are going to get some more into that brain fitness thing and so on. But because you mentioned something about something you've been taught in your childhood. I just like to go there a little bit. I want to know about your childhood, Arnold. Age 12. Back in age 5, maybe you remember. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Well, I grew up in the Netherlands. I'm Dutch. I had parents and I had 2 siblings, a brother and a sister. But what ended up is that my father was extremely authoritarian. And he was a military officer, but I always joke to people is like at home he was more an officer than at his work. So that man that he never asked us anything, never. He never gave compliments. He always had to do exactly what he told you to do. Yeah, and not even come up with your own suggestions or things like that. That had a huge impact. My mother was kind of, I would say that my mother was not present in the sense that she just let him go. Yeah, but she didn't defend those either. But that had a huge influence on myself, but also on my brother and sister. And well, that was really terrible because it was like you're always in fear. You're always like, oh, I hope I didn't make a mistake. I hope that wasn't wrong, and I hope he likes it, and he won't be angry, and everything like that. Carol.
Hey, Arnold, interesting childhood. I love that. We have all had our story, our stories in childhood. I have mine. All of us do. That's why I was interested in that. To let my audience know who are listening to Can Youth Exploration, your topic in the podcast, where my guests coming from, right? We are not always coming from the same place, right? And indeed, where we came from, right? You will may see a difference in who we are now, but you need to understand, as it said, the child is the father of the man, meaning that your childhood sometimes curves, who you have become. But Arnold, let's go into the meat of the matter here. I'd like to know mental illness. I have dabbled in psychology, I've lectured in psychology and so on, and I've taught mental health courses. But it's interesting to see how it's exploding now, mental illness, and the challenges here in the United States. We're getting a number of calls from time to time, sometimes 10, 20 calls per day, scam likely. And it's just marketers trying to talk to us, and sometimes it's way in the night when we want to sleep. Talk to me about why your version of why is mental illness exploding in this society.
Well, actually, it started 9 years ago when I lived in Budapest in Hungary, and I worked a lot with teenagers, people in 18, 19, in the 20s, beginning of the 30s, and they all, no exception, all of them had experience with stress, burnout, depression. All of them, and I find that quite shocking, all of them knew someone who had committed suicide. This was 9 years ago. And this was the first time that I heard about, like, wow, it's not just one person, it's everybody. Yeah? That got worse and worse and worse. So at the moment, I think there's 3 reasons or 3 causes for that. Number one, it's the combination of social media and your smartphone. Yeah. Number 2 is what I see is there is an increased conditioning in our society. Yeah, there are institutions, whether it's education or the media or the government, they try to influence you in a certain way. Huh? And the third one is what I call the pathologizing of emotions.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're stressed. Oh, yeah. Oh, you cannot concentrate. Oh, you must have ADHD. You should use this. Yeah? It's like, oh, you're stressed out for an exam. Oh, maybe you can ask for a medicine. Yeah, so it's like, we make everything a sickness where a lot of things are quite normal. So that is kind of my summary. There are many more causes. But it's part of it. Yes, part of it is like things are labeled a mental illness, which I don't think are a mental illness. But at the same time, is like if you look at it used to be only young people, but now I see elderly people also. They sit in the bus, only watching anything. I travel by bus. And I'm like, well, it's not only young. I see retired people only watching this thing. You see, but what is the content? The content of that stuff.
Yeah, the content.
Most of the time is negative.
Yeah.
Or it's something which is totally unattainable, like having a Ferrari or a house with a pool and beautiful partners or whatever. It's everything is like, well, I want to have that. But that's not for me. You see, it builds you in a world of fear, and it builds you in like a fairy tale.
Yeah. Interesting, Arnold. But we want to talk a bit about brain fitness. Talk to me about that. That concept is like, we understand that there are supplements that have been advertised as it relates to enhancing, the brain function, so to speak, and so on. But talk to me, what is brain fitness, Arnold?
Brain fitness is essentially a state of physical and psychological well-being in where you use your uniqueness, you learn continuously, you deal with challenges, and you contribute to a better world. That is my definition of brain fitness.
And it's not going into the gym and lifting weights and so on to enhance the workout.
Well, it is. I very intentionally choose that name because when you start something new and you come up, I could come up with a total different name and people would not understand at all. But that's why I made that link with body fitness. Most people understand.
Right.
And I say you need to work on your brain fitness as well.
Good. My audience, you hear it, right? It's brain fitness is more than what we are thinking. And as Arnold talked to me more about this concept of getting rid of this straitjacket, jacketing, that then you will understand more what brain fitness is. And he will be talking to me a little bit more now on changes and why is it so hard to change. Why is change so hard? We find that difficult, to accept change and sometimes to evolve into this newness. We tend to want to be where we used to be. Talk to me.
Yes, I think that even into our essence, it's built in that change is made very difficult, and that is intentionally. So you could say that any human could change very easily, but it's not. It is hard, it's challenging, whatever. And I think that is built into us quite intentionally, because most people don't want us to change because they invested, let's say, from your birth, the first 20, 25 years to make you into a person who is likely going to be an employee. You're likely going to be a slave of someone else. And they don't want you to change. They don't want you to waken up. They don't want you to do that because, hey, we invested 20 years of your life to get you in a very obedient, conformist situation. So we don't want you to change.
Do you think that, Arnold, that this is why we're having so many challenges with our children or adolescents, because in effect, Arnold, we cannot excuse this. We are trying to change them, right? From what they've picked up in terms of secondary socialization at the school and outside there in the community. We try to mold them into a value system that is conducive to our family setting. What are we getting that resistance from them because of what you're saying?
Well, I would even expand to what you're saying, is that from the moment we are born, other people are continuously trying to change us.
Yeah.
Okay? We're not changing ourselves. It's other people who change us. That is to the concept what I call fitting in. Fitting in means you're living someone else's life. When are you a good kid? When you do exactly what your parents tell you to do. When are you a good student at school? When you do exactly what your teacher tells you to do.
Yeah.
Maybe you go to higher education, same with the professors, whatever. You start to work. When are you a good employee? When you do exactly what your boss tells you do. So constantly, they're trying to change and to transform you from who you really are as a human being into a robot who does exactly what someone else wants you to do. So, and why is there tension with parents and basically with everybody? Because it's like, oh, it's another one who wants me to change, and another one wants me to change. Yeah. So, and obviously that can create friction.
Hey, that's interesting. Neuroplasticity. What's that?
Well, up until very, very recently, many people thought that the moment you became an adult, like 20, 25 years old, your brain was fixed, your intelligence is fixed, your personality, everything is fixed. Yeah? So that you wouldn't grow like that. How many times, Canute, have you heard people that are like, well, that's just the way I am?
Many times.
So it's like, but that is based on wrong knowledge, which they thought is like, no, when I'm in my 20s, after that I won't change, my brain won't change, it's grown, it's there, that's what it is. What neuroplasticity says is that you can actually still grow and learn, and you can change your brain basically until you die. So neuroplasticity is the concept where your brain is enabled to continuously change and grow.
Wow. Well, I'm going to say something here that I've been thinking. We have several organs transplants, right? And we can donate organs, right? Somehow, and I talked to a neurologist about this before, and she told me that it was tried somewhere in Russia or somewhere else, but it just never happened. Brain transplant. I could give my very, I would want to assume, educated brain, so to speak, to my child. Talk to me. Have you ever thought about that? Is it something that is possible? Just picking you here.
Well, on small levels, these things are changing because there's evidence and research around it that, for instance, people who got brain damage, that their personality changes, and someone who has a heart attack, it changes their brain. There's this, I think the guy is called Phineas Gage. You can look it up. It's a very famous example of the 1900s where I think he was growing a tunnel where he gets some dynamite and iron pin through his brain or whatever. And from a nice guy, he became a rude guy. Yeah? So it is a given that these things change and whatever. So, but it's even that happens when you change, for instance, well, there is a heart transplant, but people in a heart transplant, their personality changes. Yeah? So, so I totally believe that if they want to, they could transplant your brain.
Yes. I love that. I know it will transform the individual who received the recipient into a different person, thinking differently, right?
Yeah. But unfortunately, that is what all of us think, is that if we were someone else, our life would be better and everything like that. And if this wouldn't happen, then it would be fine. Where most of the thing what I say is that everybody suffers.
All right. But
Yeah.
let's see Arnold in the next 200 years after we have all gone warrior now, right? If that will be possible. We'll not see that, but I hope
I
that will be
already,
possible.
well, I'm not kidding, Canute. I read 2 days ago an article about digital twins where they can clone you based with the help of AI and
Yeah.
based on some of the
Wow.
nanotechnology which get into your system through the vaccines and other areas. So they can they can already do that now.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen Arnold, as science advance. But look, Arnold, this aging concept, I'd like to spend some time on it. We know that aging is real, and many society you cannot get a job. You are in corporate, and you cannot get a job if you are at a particular age, right? There's an age limit, so to speak, to being employed in a number of society. And in a number of other societies, you realize that the age of retirement has increased because you can get more out of, in terms of productivity out of people who are 71 now. So they're saying, why not put it to 75 instead of 60? Because at 60, I mean, the person would be able to work more. But can my audience listen to Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast? I'm Dr. Canute White. Can we slow down
Yeah,
our aging?
absolutely. There are many people working on this where they can measure your current biological age versus your age in your passport. Let me put it like that.
Okay,
Yeah?
right.
And that is, well, Dr. David Sinclair from Harvard. There is this guy Ben Johnson who has he want to his slogan is "Don't die." It's like his body is shown that is performing at the highest level, whatever, and I think
Okay.
he's in his 40s or 50s. And so in essence you can. And actually one of the reasons why I started Brain Fitness is for the last 8 years I took care of my mother who had dementia and
Yeah,
Parkinson and
yeah,
everything, and
yeah.
she died when she was 90. But it like,
Condolence.
and I studied all of this stuff, and it's like that is the same thing with the body fitness. If you do nothing on keeping your strength, your flexibility, your endurance moving, it will decline after your
Yeah.
age of 30 already.
Right,
Yeah?
right.
And first it goes very slow, so from 20 to 30 to 40, you won't notice it. But then when you get older, it starts more rapidly, etc.
Okay.
The same is true for your brain. So after your age of 30, your brain will start to decline.
Okay.
So that is why I say is like we need to work on our brain fitness. Then it won't decline, and it can even become better.
Right.
That is my
Mm,
assertion. So
yeah.
if you do the right things for your brain, you won't age like, well, you will get all these,
Right.
well, like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson, but also you lose strength, all these things. A lot of that can be prevented.
Right. Mm. Interesting. I as you talk, I recall the types of aging, or the type of age, so to speak, social age, or people see you in terms of what they think your age is. The chronological age is basically your actual age, be it 27, 35, 65. And the biological age is how your organ age, or reflect aging. And mental age is your cognitive you know function as it relates to the age that you might be functioning cognitively. And so you do have different types of aging, and that's that's very important. But look, let me say this. You mentioned somewhere in your writing that your body is actually hijacked by food, the food, fashion, and the pharmaceutical industry. What are you saying there, Arnold?
Well, I didn't mention it in the top 3 of causes of mental illness, but
Right.
one main cause is ultra processed food. Yeah. All the rubbish, and some of it is intentional, some is not. The nutrition, everything in the food makes you sick, basically. Yeah. So that is intentional. When you look at the fashion industry, everything is like, you need to look beautiful, you need to look cute, nice, adorable, whatever. Yeah. And it's like, oh, you got a shirt from 6 months old, oh, you need to get a new one, whatever. Yeah. So it always makes you feel, again, it emphasizes what I mentioned earlier, Canute, is that you're not good enough.
Right.
You're wearing an old sweater. You're wearing your handbag. That's last season. Are you stupid? So the essence of the fashion industry, it makes you feel lousy.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about that the majority of fashion is made by slaves in Bangladesh and Africa and countries like that.
Right.
Yeah? So it's basically slave labor, because using, I got a t-shirt, it's very cheap and whatever. Yeah. But you forget there's still someone toiling day and night in the heat, whatever, to make your t-shirt. Yeah? So that is also not good. There are a lot of chemicals in your clothes which get to your skin and into. And the last one, I think even the most easy one, is that the medical industry, which is totally hand in glove with the pharmaceutical, with big pharma, their goal is to sell you medicine which you preferably keep on using until the rest of your life. Their focus is not on cure. Their focus is on relief. It's on addressing symptoms. So that's what they do. With what I saw, actually, my sister has depression, is that they were pushing, like, well, take these pills, yeah. And some classes, do these classes. Well, the classes made her worse off, and my sister's also epileptic, so the medicine made her worse off, but they were pushing it. So in the end, I had to go with her to the institution, and it's like, guys, you stop doing that and pushing those things. Yeah? So it's like, but it's nothing is focused on cure. It's all around repeat business.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting thought there, Arnold. I love it. It's logical what you have said, and I note that my audience on Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast, will find it extremely interesting as well. Arnold, it's so nice to have you with me, but I'd like, before we go, for you to tell me what your contact information. People would like to contact you, would like to see your work. What are you doing? Tell me.
Well, the most easy way, Canute, is that they go to my website, which is also behind my name. It's called braingym.fitness. And there they can find, even book a meeting with me if you still have some questions. But I also have some master classes around specific topics like emotions, habits, aging, curiosity, or a few topics. And I have 2 main trainings which helps you. Well, the main one which we discussed is around what I call from fitting in to flying out. It's a 15-week program, which sounds a lot, but like I just explained, you've been 20-25% conditioned to be someone you're not. And I take 15 weeks of your life to try and reverse that.
Okay. Hey, thank you for coming on Canute Exploration, Arnold. It's nice having you. Nice talking to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Now, that was Arnold. And you heard him. And I'd want you to contact him as soon as possible. Find out more about what he has been doing. And you heard that you can, contact him through his website. And that website link will be on the description of this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Can Youth Exploration, your topic in a podcast. We'll talk another time.